You Suck at Parking has a multiple personality problem where it's trying to be a live service multiplayer online game whilst also satisfying an offline speedrunner time trial community in the single player campaign. It tries to juggle both and it largely succeeds, but in doing so it pays a heavy price by microtransacting all of its cosmetics that kind of parades itself in front of you in a slightly awkward manner. If you get past that initial kind of moment and dive into You Suck at Parking, the actual base game is fantastic to play, hugely addictive and slightly masochistic at the same time. I absolutely adore it, but it does kind of come with that did you have to microtransact everything backwash that's going on behind the scenes. So let's get into the gameplay. You Suck at Parking as a single player experience sees you dive onto different islands full of groups of levels. You'll drive up to a monument and you'll have to make sure that in every single level you can drive to a parking space before you run out of fuel or before the time limit runs out. As soon as you stop, your car conks out. You cannot reverse and you can only go forward and turn around. These start off initially with just very simple trying to manoeuvre around various different tight and twisty circuits, and you'll be seeing yourself be popped onto the leaderboard in different positions, thinking, can I beat my friends? Can I get higher up the leaderboard? It's got that just one go mentality that absolutely nails the landing. However, very quickly the game starts to escalate in difficulty and absurdity and complexity. You'll have hammers swinging across the road like a weird Takeshi's Castle mini-game. You'll have fans that will blow you over and around the levels, trying to blow you either off the course or across gaps. You'll have mines to avoid, police will chase you around, you'll be catapulted at high-speed pads flying around things, and in the different biomes, there's 2 currently at the moment, but more will be added later on. In the ice biome, you'll have these almost like Tesla coil style things that will pulse out frozen air that will turn you to an ice cube. Sometimes you'll have to use that to your advantage to slide down a slope and end up in the right parking slot. Thankfully, recovering and restarting a level is very simple and easy, and you can press down on the D-pad to restart a run or restart the level by hitting triangle or Y on your controller. Sorry, as I was playing on Xbox. I always default to PlayStation. The beauty of this is that if you manage to hit all of the parking spaces without ever having to respawn, you'll get a perfect, and the lights of each of the parking spaces will stay beautiful and golden, and you'll get double pretty much XP at the end of a level. Just getting through with aces and red cards will still earn you XP, but there's always that little carrot of can you perfect everything? That will take you hours. Whilst it may take just 3 or 4 hours to get through the actual campaign with a few hundred levels, although it took me, and it's taking me, because I've still not completed the campaign, an awful lot longer than that to get through it all. The beauty is that once you've then done that baseline, there's always a way to go quicker. There's always a way to try and perfect something. So you'll be constantly coming back to have a go at all of these different levels. As you do this, you'll earn the XP, you'll level up, and you'll then be able to go through an odd kind of weird season pass that unlocks various different paint schemes, colour paint, different light kind of systems and overlays of decals and things like that, or different types of cars that make you feel like you're doing weird micro machines or Hot Wheels style stuff going through the game. It's all very cute. The handling is slightly floaty, but responsive enough. Bit like driving really, really tight minis where you're floaty, but you'll very quickly swap ends, if that makes sense. That's fantastic. And the campaign of the single player mode would be substantial and fantastic if it was all on its own. But You Suck at Parking then adds on a live service styled online multiplayer. Now, in this mode, currently missing the ability to matchmake, you're dropped into a lobby with up to 8 other players, and then there's 8 or 10-ish parking spaces dotted around a level on a wide map. The idea is that you then need to try and be the first person to get to parking in all of those spots as you race against the clock and against other people. The beauty of this, again, is that you can smash people out of the way, you can push people off of the road and off of cliffs, plus there's also a kind of hidden maze element to some of this stuff, because you'll be going off beaten tracks around the back of like weird hills or highways or behind buildings, and sometimes having to like chain up multiple stunts so that you can reach some of the harder to get to maps as you go along, and the parking spaces. This is fantastic. It is great chaotic fun. What's really interesting though is that they've dropped several levels in initially, and that these are going to be rotated in and out. There's no local multiplayer offline, which this game really kind of lends itself well to, especially if you was able to like zoom the camera right the way out, which you can do in spectator mode when you've finished and you're watching the other the other players, running around the level. It does kind of make me go, could you have made some smaller levels and then done some local multiplayer stuff as well? But again, it's up to designer decisions and the way how they go about it. But not all of the levels are available because it's a live service, so things are being held back and put into rotation. So everyone will start to get really used to a certain few levels, and then it'll be swapped out and going round and round again. I struggle with live service games because I always feel like you're trying to spread content thinly and microtransact your way through something. And perhaps the fact that there is a £7.49 season pass that doesn't actually give you the cosmetics that are in the game fully, because if you want to then buy even more, it's up to about £30 of transactions for all of this cosmetic stuff. It makes me wonder just like where this is all going as a whole. The fundamental game is fantastic, and I would absolutely recommend it based on just what's there alone. Hopefully, I don't know if it is hopefully, and I think that's my problem, and this is why I'm kind of wrestling mid-review. I feel like this is a bit scummy, but I can totally see why they've done it too, because if people were so obsessed with microtransactions for cosmetics, that funds more levels and more development. But I'd much rather go down a simpler route of just pure sales and feeling like I fully own the game and the experience and can unlock everything through playing the game, investing my time, getting good. And it feels a little bit of a disregard for that I've worked to get good, and all I've worked out for myself is a couple of different colours of paint, while someone has paid to run around in a donut. Do you know what I mean? It just feels a little bit awkward. However, online worked very well. I did have a few moments where we all kind of desynced and dropped out of a level, and then after a few seconds dropped back in again. It did cost me a victory, grr. But the online was hilarious. The single player campaign on its own is absolutely addictive and a real treat. And with more content dropping towards the end of 2022, it has to still be a 2 double thumbs up for you suck at parking. I may not appreciate or agree with some of their marketing or development options for microtransactions, but the game is good and I can't deny that. Written review over on higherplanegames.com. You guys take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.